It is a story that is touching people all over the Houston area. A family of four found dead inside their home in River Oaks in an apparent murder-suicide.
Well, tonight, the mother and father have been identified as a power couple in Houston's restaurant scene. Matthew and Thai Mitchell own the popular Travelers Table restaurant in Montrose. Investigators say they believe Matthew fatally shot his family, then turned the gun on himself at their home on Kingston near Avalon Place.
Every video covering this story starts with Thai Mitchell, and they should, because Thai Mitchell deserves to be known. Her warmth, her restaurants, her daughter, her Instagram, her life. Every version of this story that leads with her is doing the right thing. But I want to start somewhere different today. I want to start with a question that 937 people left in the comments of every video covering this case, and that nobody has answered yet. Who was Matthew Mitchell before any of this? Not Matthew, the restaurant owner. Not Matthew, the husband in nice Instagram videos. Not Matthew, the man his colleagues described as a great friend. Matthew, the man. The full picture. The life he lived before before Travelers Table, before River Oaks, before May 4th, 2026. Because here is what I keep coming back to. Every outlet that covered this story pulled his biography directly from the Travelers Table website. Emory University, Oxford, London, Paris, New York, pharmaceuticals, culinary school, restaurant owner. That is a resume. That is not a life. And when a 52-year-old man does what investigators say Matthew Mitchell did, shoots his pregnant wife, his 8-year-old daughter, and his 4-year-old son in their own home before turning the gun on himself, a resume is not enough to understand it. So today we are going to do something different. We are going to start with Matthew. Then we are going to walk through the last 10 days of this family's life. Minute by minute, detail by detail, and by the end, I want you to have something no other video has given you. Not just the what, but the fullest possible picture of how something this catastrophic builds in silence behind a door nobody had any reason to open. Let's get into it. Matthew Mitchell was 52 years old when Houston police found his body on the evening of May 4th, 2026. He was born in the early 1970s. And here is the first thing that matters about Matthew's story. Almost every single thing we know about his early life comes from a bio he wrote himself for his own restaurant website. Think about that for a moment. In a case with no motive, no note, no prior police calls, no documented warning signs, the primary source of information about who Matthew Mitchell was before all of this is a professional biography that he controlled entirely. And that biography, as polished and impressive as it reads, raises more questions than it answers. Here is what we know. After graduating from Emory University in Atlanta, a highly selective private university, Matthew did not go straight into a career. He went to Europe. He studied in France. He studied in Italy. He attended Oxford University in England, and then he stayed. He worked as a journalist and writer in London, then Paris, then New York City. Now stop and hold that picture. A young man, educated at Emory, studying at Oxford, and instead of entering a corporate track, he becomes a writer and a traveler. He lives in London. He lives in Paris. He lives in New York. He is in his 20s and early 30s, moving between some of the most expensive cities in the world, building a life that is almost entirely composed of new experiences in new places. There are no records of a prior marriage, no records of children from a previous relationship, no family members who have spoken publicly about what his life looked like during those years. And then something shifts. At some point, Matthew comes back to Texas. He enrolls at Rice University's Jesse H. Jones School of Management, one of the top business schools in the South. He pivots completely. Not journalism, not writing, not travel, pharmaceuticals. He enters the clinical research industry and he rises fast. He becomes the president and CEO of the Texas Center for Drug Development, Incorporated, a clinical research company operating out of Houston. He holds that position for more than 14 years. 14 years. Let me put that in context. Matthew Mitchell spent the first part of his adult life moving. London, Paris, New York, France, Italy, England. A man who, by his own account, was drawn to distant cultures and exotic flavors. A man who was restless, curious, always somewhere new. And then for 14 years, he ran a pharmaceutical company. That is not a small pivot. That is a complete reinvention. And whatever drove him to make that change, whatever made a man who loved travel and writing settle into a CEO role in the clinical research industry for a decade and a half, we do not know. Because no one has told us. Because he never talked about it publicly. Because Matthew Mitchell had no social media. Not a post. Not a profile. Not a single digital footprint of his own creation. One of the top comments on every video about this case says the same thing. Nothing was said about the family he grew up with. They could have hints about anything missing in his psychological profile. Another commenter wrote, "He's 52 years old. He had to have had a previous life somewhere." They are right. And the silence around that life is not evidence of anything sinister on its own. But it is the foundation of everything that comes after. Because what we are dealing with is a man who was deeply, deliberately private, in a marriage with a woman who documented everything. At some point during or after his pharmaceutical career, Matthew makes another complete pivot. He walks away from 14 years as a pharmaceutical CEO, and he enrolls in culinary school. Not a weekend cooking class, not a hobby. He attends the International Culinary School at the Art Institute of Houston and earns an Associate of Applied Science degree in culinary arts. He then works in Houston restaurants, learning the industry from the ground up as a student, not as an executive. This is the second complete reinvention of Matthew Mitchell's adult life. And there is something important to notice about both of them. Every pivot Matthew made was total. He did not ease into journalism. He moved to London and Paris. He did not dabble in pharmaceuticals. He became a CEO for 14 years. He did not take a cooking class. He got a culinary degree and worked restaurant kitchens. Matthew Mitchell was a man who went all the way in. Every time. Whatever he committed to completely. And somewhere in Houston, during this period of reinvention, he meets Thi Mai. Thi was a first-generation Vietnamese American who grew up in Houston, the granddaughter of restaurant owners, a University of Houston graduate, working her way through HR leadership roles at Fortune 500 companies. By every account, she was grounded, warm, ambitious, and completely present in every room she walked into. Their first unofficial date was at 2 o'clock in the morning at a place called House of Pies. Their first official date was at Backstreet Cafe. But the moment that won Thi over, according to what she wrote publicly, was Matthew showing up to a large Vietnamese family gathering and going completely all in on her culture, her food, her family. No hesitation, no awkwardness, fully present. She wrote that when they first met, she thought he was either a con man or a married man living a double life. Because who has zero social media in 2010? That was suspicious, she said. But no, just a man who preferred books and newspapers. A man who lived his life entirely offline. They fell in love. They got married by the sea in Puerto Boda. A decade later, they celebrated their anniversary in St. Kitts. And I wrote that 10 years later, it still felt like the beginning. And together, in 2019, they opened Traveler's Table. Traveler's Table on Westheimer Road in Houston's Montrose neighborhood was not just a restaurant. It was the physical expression of Matthew Mitchell's entire life philosophy. A menu built from actual travel, from real places, from genuine experience. Thai duck pad CEW, Indian butter chicken, Nigerian suya skewers, mini New England lobster rolls. Dishes from Australia, Japan, Korea, Nigeria, all under one roof. The kind of menu that tells you the people who created it have actually been to those places and tasted those things. In 2021, Guy Fieri brought a camera crew. Traveler's Table appeared on diners, drive-ins, and dives. National exposure. The kind of visibility that changes everything for a restaurant overnight. In 2023, former head chef Stanton Bundy competed on Beat Bobby Flay. He won. In July 2025, Chef Miguel Torres appeared on Guy's Grocery Games. By 2025, Yelp ranked Traveler's Table number 2 in all of Houston. Number 2. In one of the most competitive food cities in America. They did not stop there. In October 2024, they opened Traveler's Cart, a second location at 1401 Montrose Boulevard. 2 restaurants, a women's fashion brand called Foreign Fare, and a hospitality umbrella they called Travelers Collective. In 2025, the Greater Houston chapter of the Texas Restaurant Association named them Restaurateurs of the Year. Just the week before the tragedy, I hosted the Houston Restaurant Association board meeting at her restaurant. 50 restaurateurs showed up. The chapter president said, "Great operation, wonderful staff, great food." These were people at the peak of everything they had built together. And yet, here is where this story gets complicated in a way that requires precision. Opening Traveler's Cart in October 2024 meant taking on significant debt. Reports indicate the expansion involved approximately $2.35 million in funding, which is also $2.35 million in financial obligation. And this was not a small risk in a forgiving economy. By early 2026, Houston had the second highest rate of financially distressed residents of any major American city. Restaurant industry costs, labor, food, insurance, rent had been climbing for 2 years straight. Running one successful restaurant is hard. Running two simultaneously, while servicing a multi-million-dollar debt load, while managing a fashion brand, while raising 2 young children and expecting a third. That is an enormous amount of pressure for any 2 people to carry. Now here is what we do not know, and I want to be precise about this because precision matters. No motive has been officially confirmed by Houston police. No financial collapse has been documented in court records. No bankruptcy filing exists. A restaurant editor who knew the Mitchells closely told reporters there was, in his view, no indication that financial pressures played a role. So the financial angle sits in this story the way a lot of things sit in this story, as a possible thread, not a confirmed fact. What has been reported through multiple sourced outlets, though not officially confirmed by HPD in their public statements, is that in the period before May 4, 2026, Matthew had allegedly been experiencing paranoia. Not general stress, not visible anxiety. Paranoia. What form it took, what triggered it, what the people around him actually witnessed. None of that is in any official record. Police have not addressed it. His family has not addressed it publicly. It sits in this case as an unverified thread. But it is a thread that commenters who live with or have lived with paranoid partners recognized immediately. One of the top comments on this video reads, "Sometimes when you have a partner that shows paranoid symptoms at home, you are too embarrassed to say anything to anyone because of the stigma around it." 78 people liked that comment because they understood it from the inside. And here is what makes that thread important, regardless of its source. Paranoia, when it takes hold, does not announce itself to the outside world. It lives inside the person experiencing it. It does not show up in restaurant reviews or Instagram captions or conversations with colleagues. It builds in silence, in private, behind closed doors. In a man who had no social media, no digital footprint of his own, no public outlet for any of his inner life, it would have been completely invisible. Now I want to walk you through the last 10 days of this family's life, because this is where the silence becomes something you can almost touch. April 24th, 2026. 10 days before the family was found. Mitchell posts a video on Instagram. Matthew is in the frame. They are laughing. She writes, "He thinks we will grow old together. He will, but I am Asian. I didn't have the heart to correct him." Hundreds of people commented. Hundreds of people laughed with her. That is the last documented public moment of Thai and Matthew together. Laughing. I want you to hold that image because everything that follows exists in the space between that laughing video and a Monday evening welfare check 8 days later. May 1st, 2026. 3 days before the family was found. Thai posts again. She and 8-year-old Maya have spent the afternoon together, trying on dresses for Thai's sister's upcoming wedding in Boston. They stopped for lunch at a cafe. Maya picked her dress. Maya made sure her mom's dress was right too. Thai writes, "Maya picked her dress and made sure I was set too. The sweetest mom-daughter time. She is planning. She is looking forward to it. She tags the restaurant where they had lunch. She mentions the wedding. She is present in her own life the way she always was, documenting the small beautiful moments, not because it was a brand strategy, but because that was who she actually was." That is Thursday, 3 days before the family was found. Sunday, May 3, 2026. The night before, multiple friends confirm they spoke to Thai that evening. Everything sounded completely normal. No distress, no unusual tone, no hesitation in her voice. She was talking, she was planning, she was being Thai. At some point that same Sunday evening, the Mitchell family went silent. The babysitter began trying to reach them. No response. Monday, May 4, 2026. The silence lasts all day. The babysitter cannot reach the family. Thai's sister, Limai, cannot reach the family. The babysitter's instinct, built from familiarity, from knowing this family's rhythms, from understanding that silence this long is not normal for them, tells her something is wrong. She calls Houston police. At 5:26 in the evening, HPD officers arrive at 2113 Kingston Street in River Oaks. And simultaneously, across Houston, Matthew's friends are sitting down to dinner, waiting for him. He had made plans. Normal plans for a normal Monday evening. He had told them he was coming. He never showed. At 6:11 in the evening, the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences records the official time of death for Maya Mitchell, age 8, and Maxwell Mitchell, age 4. Both children were found in their beds. The place where every parent in the world tucks their child in and says goodnight. The place where a child trusts completely that they are safe. That is where Maya and Maxwell were found. Thai Mitchell, 39 years old and pregnant with her third child, was found dead from a gunshot wound to the head. Her death ruled a homicide. Maya's death ruled a homicide. Maxwell's death ruled a homicide. Matthew Mitchell, 52 years old, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That is what was inside that house on Kingston Street. That is what the babysitter's instinct uncovered. That is what 10 days of silence was hiding. Houston police have not released a motive. No note has been publicly confirmed. The investigation remains active. And so the question at the center of this entire case, why did Matthew Mitchell do what investigators say he did, remains open. I have read through nearly 1,000 comments left on videos covering this story. And the audience is doing what audiences always do when the official record leaves a gap. They are filling it with everything they know about human nature. Some say it was a financial collapse. The debt, the expansion, the humiliation of potential bankruptcy. A man who could not face failure. Others say it was pure evil, that explanations are just excuses, that some people choose darkness and that's the whole story. Some say narcissism, the psychology of men who cannot bear the idea of a world continuing without them in it. A few have questioned the official conclusion entirely, asking where the home cameras are, wondering if there was a third party. And one commenter said something that stopped me. They wrote, "I just pray he didn't take her comment the wrong way." They were talking about this Instagram video. The one where she joked about being Asian and not aging. The one where she said he would grow old but she wouldn't have to. The light-hearted joke that hundreds of people laughed at. In a mind experiencing paranoia, could a joke like that land differently? Could something that innocent become the seed of something terrible? We do not know. We may never know. What we do know is this. Matthew Mitchell was a man who reinvented himself completely, multiple times. A man who went all the way in every time. A man who left no digital footprint, no social media, no public record of his inner life. A man whose colleagues called him a great friend. A man whose wife posted about him with love and laughter 10 days before the end. A man who, in the words of a close friend of the family, was carrying something. Something invisible. Something that nobody around him could see, name, or reach. "There are no words for the weight you must have carried," that friend wrote. Love was there, and still it was not enough. I want to be absolutely clear. Nothing excuses what Matthew Mitchell did to Thai, to Maya, to Maxwell, to an unborn child who never had the chance to exist outside its mother's body. Nothing. There is no explanation that becomes a justification. There is no weight a person can carry that makes this acceptable. But understanding is not an excuse. And if we refuse to try to understand, we lose the only tool we have for recognizing when someone we love is approaching a breaking point we cannot see. The morning after the Mitchell family was found, the staff of Traveler's Table and Traveler's Cart showed up for work. Let that sit for a moment. The people Thai and Matthew had hired, trained, poured themselves into for years, they showed up. They clocked in. They opened the doors. They kept serving Houston. The restaurant released a statement. Hospitality comes from within. And to honor the traveler's legacy, we will continue to welcome you into our restaurants. The traveler's legacy. That is what they called it. Emily Williams Knight, president and CEO of the Texas Restaurant Association, said, "We will remember Thai as a ray of light who inspired everyone around her." Craig Howard, who led the Houston chapter, said it looked like a successful power couple doing it together. Because that is what it looked like. That is what it was. Thai's sister Limai posted on Facebook, "We are heartbroken to share that my sister Thai and her beloved children Maya and Max passed away last night. No mention of the circumstances. No mention of the man responsible. Because that is the weight this family is now carrying, grief and betrayal, together, with no roadmap for how to hold both." In front of the home on Kingston Street, a memorial began growing. Flowers, photos, small offerings from people who had eaten at Thai's tables and felt, just by being in her space, that they mattered. That is what she built. That is what she was. I want to end not with the mystery but with the message. Because this case, as haunting and as unresolved as it is telling us something we need to hear. The first thing, Matthew Mitchell's private life is not proof of anything wrong. Let me say that plainly. Not having social media is not a red flag. The top comment on every video covering this story is from a successful business owner who says she does not have social media and sees nothing wrong with that. 534 people agreed. They are right. Privacy is not pathology. But there is a difference between privacy and invisibility. A person can live privately and still be known by their partner, by their friends, by the people who are close to them. What this case reveals is the danger of carrying something enormous completely alone, with no outlet, no disclosure, no one who knows the full weight of what you are holding. Whatever Matthew was carrying in those final days, financial terror, paranoid thinking, a mental health crisis, some combination of all three, it was not shared with anyone. And that invisibility is what made it catastrophic. The second thing, the babysitter's instinct saved nothing. The tragedy had already happened before she made that call. But it ended the not knowing. And it is a reminder that familiarity, real earned familiarity with the people in your life, is a form of protection. Not because it can stop everything, but because it gives you the permission to act when something feels wrong, even when you cannot articulate why. When something feels wrong, you call. The third thing, Thai Mitchell deserves to be remembered as more than the woman who died. She was a first-generation Vietnamese American who spent childhood weekends in her grandmother's restaurant and grew up to build a restaurant empire, a master's degree holder, a Fortune 500 HR executive, a fashion designer, a board member, a mother who spent a Thursday afternoon with her daughter picking out dresses for a wedding she was looking forward to attending. She was carrying a third child when she died. She had dinner plans she never got to make. She had an Instagram full of evidence that she loved her life completely and was not afraid to show it. That is who she was. Maya Mitchell was 8 years old. She attended River Oaks Elementary School. She rated her afternoon with her mom a 10 out of 10. Maxwell Mitchell was 4 years old. He was found in his bed. Rest in peace, Thai. Rest in peace, Maya. Rest in peace, Maxwell. The staff is still showing up. The doors are still open. On Kingston Street, the flowers keep coming from people who sat at Thai's tables and felt seen just by being there. That was who she was. And no Monday evening in River Oaks can take that away. If you or someone you know is struggling and the weight feels too heavy to carry alone, please reach out. Call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Free, confidential, 24 hours a day. If you are in a relationship where you feel unsafe, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is available at 1-800-799-7233. If the story moved you, subscribe, hit the bell, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Every view on a story like this is a vote for coverage that takes these lives seriously. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one.